Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to turn this free bookshelf into something that doesn't look free. I went ahead and spray painted the back of this. This is an MDF or particle board, and a lot of the pieces of furniture that you would ever consider painting has particle board in the back. And this is the way that you can kind of tell the cheapness or the sturdiness of a piece of furniture. I like to dress this part of the piece up to make it look a little more special and not an afterthought, just to kind of cover the back. So in the past I have done like just a very faded stencil, and the thing is you don't even notice it when the piece is done, but it does make it look a little more special. This particular piece has the indentation to make it look like there's slats of wood back here, so I wanted to play that up. What I did is I lightly sprayed 2 layers of white flat paint. And I stopped here because I like that you could see the wood grain, and I like that you could see the lines, and I will play that up at the very end when I'm adding other colors. It's hard to tell what I'll do with the piece until the end, but that is kind of my plan, is to play this up to make sure to make it look like these are actual wood slats. The reason that I use spray paint is because MDF usually has this sheen to it that the first and second coat sometimes it takes a while to cover, but I actually like the coverage. So I'm gonna stick with the spray paint on the back and add like a glaze or another color. Like I said, I'll decide when I get there. The next step is going to be to paint the actual wood. So this piece is wood, and you'll see when I show you the drawer at the bottom a little later, like there is some cool detail that'll look good, kind of distressed. I'm not gonna heavily distress this piece, but slight distress. I just wanted to talk through some basics. The thing about a chalk type paint is it goes on any surface. Shiny, dull, metal, plastic. Sometimes it takes 2 to 3 coats to make it look like it's fully covered, but there's so much forgiveness. This is the bigger can because I knew I'd be using a lot of white, and this was around $10, but they make the next size for around $8. If you go to Hobby Lobby, you can use your 40% off coupon. This is the best way to go if you're starting, especially on a piece of furniture that is not going to get a lot of wear. This is not like it's a dresser top. Like this, I am good with using like a craft type chalk paint to finish. I'm just going to use a regular paintbrush just so I can get lots of coverage. First coat is always the coat that you do it and then you're like, oh my goodness, what did I just do to this piece? So move past that, because second coat you're like, oh, this makes sense, this is what I was looking for. So just be aware that that first coat can sometimes make you think you made a mistake. Don't quit. Wow, this is really white. I'm not too worried about that though, because the first coat is basically for coverage. It's to cover the color of wood. It is to kind of get your base, and then if I wanted to change to the plaster for the top coat, I really couldn't even tell that it's white. So I'm just going to go ahead and start. You put the brush in, you go with the grain of the wood. Now, you can go as heavy with paint or as light as paint as you would like, depending on the coverage. I usually say go with the grain. It depends on if you want it to look like it was painted a long time ago. Like you can add ups and downs to kind of give it texture if the piece doesn't have a lot of interesting qualities. But I always find that the more interesting the piece, the more basic I need to be with my strokes, because I want the piece to be able to speak for itself. And then I'm also imagining what kind of distressing I would be doing. So I'm just going for coverage right now. And as you can see, you can still kind of see the wood through it. That is okay. This is just the base coat. another thing with some of these shelves, the side pieces, like the one I'm working on right now, is often super flat, kind of like the back. So I feel a texture difference while I'm painting. So it just might take a couple more coats for coverage. Not a big deal. These are the sides. Sometimes having it a little bit see-through is kind of fun because it makes it look like it has some depth on the sides. Excuse me. It is cold, but you will soon find out that painting moves your whole body. And if you haven't painted in a while, you will feel muscles in your back and in your forearms that you forgot you had. So I am somebody that doesn't usually use painter's tape when I tape. It's just something to show you about one of these angled brushes. When I hold it, I kind of hold it like I would hold a pencil. So that the slant is at the top, so you have control over your stuff. Now, I would normally suggest that you take the drawer out. This drawer does not come out. So I'm just going to take off this hardware. Quite honestly, I really like the age on this hardware, so I think I'm just going to put this back on. This is a good place if you're changing hardware. You can cover up holes with a wood putty. Sand that off. I'm sure I'll show you that in another project, but this is, you want to do that before you start painting. There we go. And also I forgot to mention that I very much clean this out with Dawn dish soap and let it dry. So it was pretty dirty, so I let it dry a solid day because this wood is stuff is soaking in it, so the water, I didn't want to paint on top of a wet piece of wood. Although I'm sure that would change the effect. I am going to be painting the outsides of the drawers. You can have the option to stop right at the front plate or paint as far as you can see. I just decided because there's particle board, I kind of wanted to cover that part up so that it looks more like the whole thing could be solid wood. So the front pieces are wood. And I usually just go around the frame. Listen, there's no rhyme or reason. You do your coverage. You work on your areas and finish up. Make sure you don't have paint drips, and then you move on to another area. And if you have paint drips, there's fixes for that too. So again, forgiving. Now, if you are not a distressed furniture lover, this is also a good product for you. You would just be focusing on fuller coverage, on making sure you don't see brush strokes. And a hint for not seeing brush strokes is on your last layer, have a little bit of water mixed in with your paint. So it has this cloudy look to it. And when you paint over all of it, it kind of just covers up. So if you do not want the distressed look, that is an option, is to just add a little water to your brush. And once your brush is wet, like it changes the way the paint sticks on it. Not soaking wet, not soaking wet. Just a little bit. There are so many options as far as colors and styles and what piece do I start with. I would suggest going to Pinterest, maybe search painted furniture, and then after you just pin everything that you like. And then after you're done, you'll get an idea of what is your preference. Mine is usually in the white or wood, light wood, or mixed tone family. I usually stick with white, or if I'm being crazy, gray. All right, so this is coat number 1. As you can see, well, that's 2 coats on the back, but as you can see on the inside here, it looks splashy. And this is where you can sometimes panic, saying, what did I just do? But then there's the second coat. Wanted to show you a fun painter's hack. I've done the first coat. I'm going to be back, but I'm not cleaning the brush. So you just take a Ziploc bag, close it as much as you can, and it'll be nice and ready for use. Throughout the day, I've done this overnight. I've done this for multiple days. I am on coat number 2, and I am not going to bore you with watching me do the whole thing, but I wanted to show you kind of what happens at coat number 2. You can see that all of a sudden the paint sticks so much better, and you're actually seeing whatever color you're doing without seeing whatever was underneath come through. As you can see, I'm trying to get this all covered, not being neat, and I'm getting some paint back here. So what I realized at top is that I'm going to do that and have to go with that. So I don't let it look like that. So I'm going to take a brush that's pretty dry, which means I got most of the paint right here. And I'm just going to kind of dry brush to make it look like that paint right there is just on the slats of wood at the back. And it adds a layer. And it starts to make the piece look more layered, more intentional. So as I'm working on this side and the paint runs out and the brush gets drier, I'm coming over here and just adding, not the whole thing, just according to the look you want. Now, in between coats, I basically finished this whole thing and then started again. So I would say about 15 to 20 minutes. It dries pretty quick, especially if you're not doing like these really thick layers. I wouldn't go putting anything on it, but you can definitely do your next layer of paint. And again, make sure you go back behind on the back. See if you've made any brush marks that you don't want to make. So Henry thinks I'm talking to him when I am talking to the camera. So instead of having Whitey in the background, we're just going to have a little cute factor here. So I am going to do the artist part now of this piece of furniture. It has 2 coats of paint. You could use a sanding block as well, but a piece of furniture this large, you can kind of get it done pretty quick with an orbital sander. So either one would work. A sanding block, piece of sandpaper. I have a 220 grit, which is kind of the middle of the line. Like a 60 grit is really coarse and should be used more like on raw wood when you're wanting to change kind of the shape of the wood. I'm going to use a 220 grit, which will help get the paint off but not go too deep past that layer. And I'm just going to go around and just kind of grab corners and things that I want to kind of stand out. Definitely the edges that are obviously already worn just from being an old piece of furniture. I can see where it naturally wore out. I'm not going to touch the back at all with the sander, again because it is a piece of MDF board and it doesn't have the same effect. I'd rather make that look different with a glaze or another color of paint. So here is the final piece. I have not done any of the glazing or the wax. I decided this video is long enough and I'm going to do separate video on the different finishes. So my daughter helped me style this. She had some fun helping me style. So we'll do another video on waxes and glazes and why and how you use those. But until then, this is the end product, and I don't think this cabinet looks free anymore. Say thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. Like this video and give it a big thumbs up.
Alright. And subscribe to my mommy's channel.
And subscribe to my